At 65, I felt like a ghost haunting my own life. My days blurred together in a small, quiet flat, surrounded by memories of an America that no longer existed for me. My Social Security barely covered rent and groceries. Every month, the fear of running out of money grew heavier. My children were far away, busy with their own lives. Calls were brief, and the silence afterward was deafening. Friends had moved on or passed away. I was invisible, lost in a crowd of strangers at the supermarket. The American dream had faded into a lonely routine of survival. I cut back on everything, my favorite tea, the heating, just to get by. The future felt like a dark tunnel with no light at the end. I knew I couldn't keep living this way, trapped by anxiety and isolation. Desperate for change, I started searching online for places where my small income could stretch further. I wanted a place where community still mattered, where I could breathe again. That's when I kept seeing stories about a small country in Southeast Asia, the Philippines. The idea was terrifying, leaving everything I'd ever known. But the home I remembered was gone, replaced by a life of just getting by. I realized I had to take a chance or spend my final years fading away. So, I made a decision. I would look for a new beginning, even if it meant starting over on the other side of the world. That's where my story truly begins. Leaving America felt like admitting defeat, but staying meant surrendering to despair. I spent sleepless nights wrestling with doubts. Could I really start over at 65, in a country where I knew no one and didn't speak the language? Online, I found stories from expats who'd found peace and community in the Philippines. Their hope became my lifeline. The numbers made sense. My Social Security, barely enough in the US, could provide comfort and security in a Filipino village. I sold nearly everything: furniture, keepsakes, memories, paring my life down to 2 suitcases and a handful of photos. Standing in my empty flat, I felt both terrified and strangely free. The flight to Manila was a blur of nerves and anticipation. As the plane descended, the city lights below felt like a new universe. Was I foolish to think I could start over? The fear was real, but so was the possibility. Stepping into the humid air, I was overwhelmed by the noise, the smells, the energy. For the first time in years, I felt alive. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew I couldn't go back. I was no longer running from something. I was running toward a chance at life. The unknown was frightening, but it was also full of hope. I had chosen uncertainty over slow decline. My journey had truly begun, and I was ready to see where it would lead. My first weeks in the Philippines were a rush of new sights and sounds. I settled in a small village, far from the chaos of Manila, arriving by a crowded, colorful jeepney. The landscape was lush and vibrant, a world away from my old life. My landlady, Elena, welcomed me with warmth and introduced me to neighbors who greeted me with smiles and gifts of mangoes. I didn't speak Tagalog, but kindness needed no translation. The village was alive with music, laughter, and the constant crowing of roosters. Filipino time was a surprise. Schedules were flexible and no one was in a rush. I was the only foreigner, expecting to be an outsider, but the opposite happened. Neighbors called me Joe, invited me for coffee, and taught me simple words in their language. In America, I was invisible. Here, I was seen. The sense of community was immediate and genuine. I was no longer just an old man living alone. I was part of something. The adjustment wasn't always easy, but every day brought small moments of connection. I realized I had found what I'd been missing: belonging. The village welcomed me, not as a stranger, but as a neighbor. For the first time in years, I felt at home. Life in the village moved at a gentle, human pace. I woke to roosters and friendly greetings from children on their way to school. The local market became my social hub. Vendors saved the best fruit for me and taught me how to cook unfamiliar vegetables. Every transaction was a conversation, every visit a chance to connect. Here, community wasn't just a word, it was a way of life. Neighbors helped each other without hesitation, whether fixing a roof or sharing a meal. The spirit of bayanihan, collective effort, was everywhere. My afternoons were spent reading, chatting, or simply watching the world go by. The pressure to always be busy melted away. I found joy in small things: ripe pineapple, rain on the roof, a shared smile. I was no longer counting down the days. I was living them. My life was simple, but it was full of meaning. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was part of a community, and that changed everything. Contentment, I discovered, was found in the quiet moments. Moving to the Philippines rewired my outlook on life. The values I clung to, individualism, constant productivity, felt empty here. Success was measured in relationships, generosity, and presence. I learned pakikisama, the art of getting along, prioritizing harmony over ego. Flexibility and patience replaced confrontation. One day, my neighbor Meng Nestor waved me over to help fix a fence. There was no talk of money or property lines, just shared work, laughter, and a meal afterward. I realized how much I'd missed this sense of belonging. I let go of the pressure to always do more and started appreciating what was right in front of me. Life became about experiences, not possessions. I was no longer invisible or anxious. I was growing into someone calmer, more open and grateful. I was learning to see the world, and myself, with new eyes. Simplicity, I found, was a gift. A year in, I was struck by dengue fever, weak, alone, and scared. Old fears crept in. What if I got seriously ill? Who would help me? Before panic took over, Elena knocked on my door, saw my condition, and sprang into action. She sent her son for medicine, brewed herbal tea, and brought coconuts for hydration. Soon, my cottage was filled with neighbors, bringing food, checking on me, offering comfort. Even the children peeked in, worried for Tito Joe. Their kindness was instinctive, their care unconditional. I was overwhelmed by their generosity. In America, illness would have meant isolation and debt. Here, it was a community affair. I was never alone. Their support helped me recover, but more than that, it showed me I truly belonged. The sickness that frightened me became proof I'd made the right choice. I had found a home, not just a place to live. I was part of a family, even far from my own. That changed everything. On looking back, I barely recognized the lonely man I once was. My life is still simple, but it's rich in ways I never imagined. True wealth, I've learned, is found in human connection. If you feel stuck or invisible, know that it's never too late to change. Fear will try to keep you where you are, but courage opens new doors. You don't have to move across the world. Sometimes a small step is enough. Be open to new people, new experiences, and let go of rigid expectations. I came to the Philippines for financial reasons, but found something far more valuable: community, peace, and belonging. Happiness isn't a destination, it's a path you walk with others. Don't let age or fear hold you back. There are still beautiful chapters left to write. A simpler life is not a lesser life. It's a life of quiet joy, and it's waiting for you, if you're brave enough to seek it. From my little porch, I can tell you, it's never too late to find your place in the world.